Hey, this is post-production Steve here, and in this video I'm going to show you not only how to make one of the best plates of pesto that you've ever had, but also all of the techniques that you can put into place not only when you're making your sauce, but when you're cooking the dish to make sure that your pesto is as vibrant, green, and flavorful as possible. You'll also be able to see myself from about 2 years ago now, because I originally shot this video as part of my Skillshare course, which is still available for free using the link in my description. So if you like this recipe and you want to learn a bunch of different pasta sauces or just how to put together the perfect plate of pasta, you can check out that link and take it for free. So yeah, please enjoy the video and you should go make this. Bye! So for our next recipe, we're going to be making a pesto alla Genovese. I didn't just say pesto because the word pesto itself is kind of a general catch-all term for a pounded sauce in Italy, whereas the pesto alla Genovese is probably the one that you know and love, and it's going to be a combination of lovely fresh-picked basil leaves. We have some pine nuts, black pepper, olive oil, some nice quality Parmigiano Reggiano, and some garlic. We're going to pound or grind those together to make this lovely, green, delicious, fresh, vibrant sauce. This sauce is typically made in a pestle and mortar, which is a really great way of making, especially smaller batches of the sauce, depending on how big your pestle and mortar is. But I like making large batches, and as you can see, my pestle and mortar isn't exactly huge. So whilst I do love this method, today we are going to be resorting to a blender. You can use a food processor, an immersion blender, anything to get the sauce mixed. What I will say, if you are going to be using a larger electric piece of equipment like a blender or a food processor, make sure that you make the sauce quickly. Don't let it spin for too long. It'll become very, very smooth, and sometimes you want a little bit of texture, but it'll also heat up. And through heating up, you sort of deteriorate the flavor of the basil, the color a little bit. You want the process to be quick. So we're just going to start by preparing our ingredients. Since everything's going to the blender, there isn't really too much that we need to prepare. Let's start with the garlic. I just like to take off the root end and give them a confident tap with the side of my knife, and the skins should just peel straight off. You don't need to chop these too fine because the blender is going to do quite a lot of work, but you don't want to just put in a whole clove of garlic because it might not get broken down too well. Now that the garlic is done, I'm going to go ahead and grate all of our cheese here. You might be able to get away putting this in as like bigger chunks if you have a powerful enough blender, but I'd just recommend grating it to be sure. So for the actual blending portion of the recipe, I just go ahead and add everything straight to the actual blender itself. I've made this recipe a couple times. If this is the first time that you're making it, maybe add a little bit of it at a time and just taste regularly. So we're going to start with the garlic that goes in the bottom of the blender. Now for the pine nuts, you can toast them if you want, but the flavor of untoasted pine nuts is really, really nice as well. I'm going to add my basil. Top with my cheese. A generous amount of black pepper. I'm going to start off with most of the olive oil, and then I'll drizzle in the rest just to adjust the consistency and see where I'm at. I'm not going to add the salt just yet because the Parmesan itself is quite salty. We'll probably need to add a pinch or two, but we'll determine that later. So once you're done blending, you want to check for consistency. You're looking for something that's not super smooth. A little bit of coarseness is nice for the finished dish. And you do want to check for seasoning. So give it a taste and see if it needs a little pinch of salt or not. Once you're done with that, you're going to put everything in a small container and keep things inside of the fridge until you're ready to use. So for our pasta today, I've chosen fusilli. What I love about these guys is that the little spirals make it so that they hold onto sauce really, really well. So each little bite is just packed with this really lovely pesto that we've just made. And we can go ahead and start boiling it. So we can go ahead and add the pasta and cook it for pretty much maybe 1 minute less than the package instructions tell you. We'll give these a bit of a mix, just so they don't stick together. So now that our pasta is cooked pretty much exactly where I want it, I'm going to go ahead and strain it. And hold on to all that lovely pasta water. Now, to this bowl over here, I'm just going to add a couple tablespoons of our pesto. And mix that with a little bit of pasta water, maybe like 50 ml for now. Go ahead and add our pasta. And now you're just going to mix until you bring everything together. You want to coat those fusilli really nicely with the pesto. And you're pretty much done once the liquid at the bottom sort of been absorbed into the pasta, and everything is this really nice, vibrant basil green. Once everything's come together nicely, the only thing left to do is serve. This is delicious hot, but equally as delicious cold, served as like a pasta salad or something. And I would recommend serving with plenty extra grated Parmesan, a couple grinds of black pepper. And there you have pesto alla Genovese.